We did.
Hi, everyone. Welcome. What is it, November?
Yeah.
It's almost holidays. All right, let's call the meeting to order and do roll call.
Okay, Pet Marquez de la Plata,
Here.
Vicky Clues,
Here.
Tony Goodwin,
Here.
Joe Rogoff,
Here.
Spencer Scott,
Here.
Betsy Van Dyke,
Here.
Patty Thayer,
Here.
Ty Hilton,
Here.
and Faye Zamora.
Here.
And Lonnie Lazar is absent. He had a conflict and his alternate was not available.
Okay, we're gonna move on to item 2, approval of the agenda. Does anyone wanna make a motion to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Oh.
Thanks.
First and second.
Betsy and Joe?
Yeah. All right, if anyone on the council has a conflict.
You want to take a vote on that?
Oh, okay. Yeah, we can. And wanna. Hands up or down, approval, sorry,
Ayes have it.
I'm trying to move it along.
Thanks.
All right, now, if anyone has a conflict of interest with anything on the agenda, now's the time to let us know. Anybody? All right, we're gonna move to 4, which is the consent agenda, which includes the minutes from the October meeting. Anyone want to make a motion to approve or have comments?
I'll move to approve them.
I'll second. Second, can we get a raise of hands on approving the minutes? Looks like it's, oh,
Abstain.
okay, all right, everyone, except Tony, approved, correct.
And I'm sorry, who made the motion and who seconded it?
I made.
Patty.
Okay.
And then Spencer.
Thank you. Patty and Spencer. And they were all ayes, but Tony,
Except for Tony.
okay. Got it. Thank you.
Okay, the next 2 items are about comments or anything that are about subjects that are not on the agenda. We're gonna go to the council first, and we'll come out to you all. Because of the Brown Act, we're not gonna have a back and forth discussion about these items. Sometimes it feels like we're being rude because we can't really comment on them. So everyone knows we're not being rude, we're just following the law. So we'll go to,
Makes us rude.
what makes us rude?
Makes us rude.
Yeah,
I
the
have
law is a
something.
rude thing. All
Um,
right, go ahead.
I wanted to announce that on Thursday, December 4th, Food for Thought, which is an amazing medical food bank based in Forestville that services people with medical needs all over Sonoma County, will be holding their Dining Out for Life event, which basically is you go out to eat somewhere that you would go out to eat otherwise, perhaps, or takeout. And the restaurant gives a percentage of the sales back to Food for Thought. So it's a nice way to give back without having to write a check or do something like that. So I really encourage you. I will be the ambassador at Baked on the River, right up the block here, for lunch on December 4th. So I'd love to see some of you all. And if you go to their website, which is fftfoodbank.org, you can find all the restaurants that are participating all over Sonoma County.
And you can find a level of the percentage that they're donating. because
Yes.
You can actually choose your restaurant based on.
It's usually 25, 50, or 100%. We do have some 100%ers, which is amazing. But yeah, or just go to your favorite place and have breakfast, lunch, or dinner. Thanks.
Awesome. I have something on a similar note. Forgotten Felines Sonoma County is going to do a pet food drive. There's uncertainty about food distribution and SNAP. Is it on? Is it off? Is it whatever? I mean, so oftentimes people have to choose between feeding their family and feeding their pets. So we're working with Redwood Food Bank and an organization called FISH, which stands for Food Pantry for All. And so you can drop off donations of pet food, dog or cat, to us at Forgotten Felines in Santa Rosa, or to our thrift store at Pick a Little, also in Santa Rosa. So we're hoping to get some pet food in people's hands, use these great other organizations, they're gonna distribute it to the folks they serve in lower income things and SNAP recipients and all that. So if you can drive to Santa Rosa and get some pet food, it'd be much appreciated to a lot of people.
Food for Thought also gives pet food out.
Yeah.
Oh, and one other thing, on December 6th, Forestville will be holding their holiday fair from 3 to 7. It's all along, the main street out in front of Oaks Park and all the shops there, and there's vendors with booze and food and wine and all sorts of fun stuff for the holidays.
And I should say, our pet food drive lasts from Monday until the end of the year, so you have time to do that. Tony,
Thank you, Chair. Casadero, I was told by the chief tonight to give a thank you to Linda Hopkins in the Fifth District Office for the grant. It's being used to get some equipment for our fire engines, and then I noticed that Measure H, there's some stuff in here. I guess, are we, no, that's not on the agenda though, or is it?
It is.
It is, okay. I'll say good things about it later then.
all right,
Me too.
anyone else on the? Go.
The committee consisting of Kay, myself, and Nick Schwanz met to discuss the crosswalk painting in Guerneville. We received many suggestions from the community. It was over 40, I don't know exactly how many.
Oh,
And the two themes that were most prevalent, since we get to paint two, were the rainbow and something of nature. Something about the nature of Guerneville, be it redwoods or the river or something. And so at this stage, we are putting out a call for artists to make proposals around it.
Great. Awesome. Anyone else? Oh, I forgot. And maybe Amy knows the date. We're doing a nail clipping, nail clipping event at the Rio Negro station. Do you remember the 21st of this month? So if you have, and I think they're charging $20, which is great, reasonable. If you want to know more about it, contact Friends of Rio Negro, and we'll give you the information on how you can sign up. What's the dog you can say? Oh, 16th of November, thank you. Anyone else in council? What about anyone in the room? Not on the agenda, yep.
You can come up with.
Hi, Terry Gwizdowski, alternate, Casadero, Duncan Mills. So my river friend of the library hat, I wanted to, invite people to come to the Forestville Library Open House, which is actually tomorrow at 3 p.m. And, the new furniture and fixtures and whatnot has been donated, paid for by the Friends. And the snacks are also gonna be donated by the Friends, so come on and have a good time. And then the Young Writers Award Ceremony, I mentioned this at the last meeting, will take place on Saturday at 1 p.m. at the Guerneville Library, and this is an essay contest open to pretty much everyone in 6th, 7th, and 8th grade in West County. So come to that if you wish. And then in December, Saturday and Sunday, December 6th and 7th, the River Friends are having their winter wreath book and bake sale, and the wreaths are handmade. And the goodies that they sell are also handmade. So on the open hours for Saturday and Sunday is our $10 bag sale. All you can fit in one of our totes, and people fit bunches in there. Sometimes we have to put another one in because it starts to rip. So it's a pretty fun event.
Which library is that?
That's at Guerneville Library, Saturday and Sunday, December 6th and 7th.
Great, thank you. Anyone else in the room? Anyone online?
I see no hands.
No hands? All right, we will move on to the next section, which is a county update. Who's doing that?
So, yeah, there's not much on the agenda for county update today. There are two written reports, the Measure H update. And so that's just something that you can read. If there are questions, I can try to answer them, but I think it's a pretty comprehensive report of where things are right now. And then there's also a report on the status of the Enhanced Infrastructure Financing District and just the next steps for that. The next step will be to put a call out for representatives to apply. So that'll be coming out through I think the county executive's office.
And that there are,
We'll share that.
as I recall, there are 3 board of supervisors and 2 community members.
There are, yes,
Okay,
yes. Which is odd, because then it's the quorum of the board of supervisors.
Yeah.
If I remember that, yeah.
Gee.
And then I just wanted to give a heads up at the next meeting. One of the agenda items will be selection of the chair and vice chair for 2026. Vicky, our vice chair, is willing to step into that role. If anybody else is interested, reach out to me. I can tell you a little bit more about what it entails if you haven't observed.
Or I can-
Or you can reach out to Pip. And if anyone is interested in being vice chair, please reach out and consider that, because we will need to also choose one of those in December.
And it'll be my very last meeting.
And it'll be Pip's very last
Yeah.
meeting as a representative, because you'll come back as a member.
Yeah.
And so, and Linda is,
I'm sorry. can
Sorry.
you give an update on representatives for the next?
we will be fully, we'll have all of the seats appointed, beginning in January. We have, I don't want to put anyone on the spot, but we do have some of our, new members who will get introduced, in the future,
Some of them are in this room.
in this
Yeah.
room tonight, yes. And we still are seeking an alternate for the South Guerneville Pocket Canyon region, which is
Gurnville South. Pocket.
Guerneville South Pocket
Oh.
Canyon, which is
Yeah.
Drake and Neely neighborhoods all into Pocket Canyon. So if you know anybody, I think, when people hear Pocket Canyon, they think, well, I don't live there. So we're just really trying to get the word out. I have some flyers that I'm gonna be posting around, because maybe someday Betsy will need some respite. She's been hanging in there. So that's where we are for those. And Linda apologizes for not being able to be here, but she's 5 hours into the
It's
future.
important what she's doing.
And yeah,
I like that she's there. Where is she?
she is in Brazil at the climate
Wow.
conference. Yes, yes. Representing the air district, of which she is the chair.
I do want to say, kind of working off of what Tony said. So in my area, we've seen a lot of work by CAL FIRE to clear brush. And it's been coming from Measure H resources, so we're really happy. They were out there all last weekend and a couple of days this week, and they've done a lot on Canyon, Summer Home Park. It's making a real difference. You should see Summer Home now, Jay.
I'll have to go for another walk.
Yeah, yeah. Anyway, thank you.
Yes.
I did want to ask a question about that. I hadn't realized that there was a proposal to purchase the properties adjacent to the Guerneville Firehouse. So is the intent, do you know, to,
St. Hubert's,
what's that?
St. Hubert's Hall, that property?
That was
It
the
wasn't
church.
clear. So 2 properties adjacent to the current firehouse.
Yeah, there is a current letter of intent to purchase the 2 properties to the north of the 2 firehouses. There has been discussion about St. Hubert's. But there is the two like blank properties right before you hit the outdoor church are properties that the Catholic Church has been ordered through the bankruptcy process to divest themselves of. They want it to go to a public good. It's a pretty easy connection to the firehouse that is right there connecting to it. And that will be hopefully a new and revived firehouse that we have in our community.
Great.
Any questions on that?
So but is St. Hubert's on the docket there, or?
They've had discussions about it, but it's not part of the letter of intent. I think they're still going back and forth.
I guess I'll just look at the map on the parcels, but I'm guessing it's just like it's not where the farmer's market is, or is it?
That is part of St. Hubert's, but the
Yeah.
the LOI is the two that are on the other side of the road, like abutting Armstrong.
Okay,
It's like a big open field. It's
Yeah.
not too long.
yeah, before you get into the trees.
Yep.
Okay.
A little swampy.
It's
What
actually
is it
only
right now?
14 feet down to bedrock.
Oh.
Very surprising for her.
Oh, wow.
They're very excited to find it.
Okay, let's move on.
Oh, is this when we get to say nice things about Measure H?
Yeah. Oh, yeah, sure.
I'd like to do that. Cazadero, is definitely, appreciating the benefit of Measure H. We're able to staff our firehouse more. And also we have an agreement with CAL FIRE that has allowed us to hire them, and they're sticking around all year long, and we will be somewhat of a priority for them. So it really has benefited our community. Thank you for Measure H and the vegetation management. They're going to town on that. Cazadero Highway, they just started last week.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
Thanks. Okay, let's move on to item 8, Gurnville Plaza. Yay.
We're trying to
Like-
connect to Zoom.
What's that? Oh, you're trying to connect to Zoom?
Yes, we can share a screen.
Or do you have, I mean, I have a flash drive that we use for the file. Or should I connect? I wasn't sure how to do
Yeah, I sent you a panelist link. Do you have that?
it.
It would have come from Zoom. And then you can also come up to the podium with your laptop.
Yeah.
I was thinking that's the difference. He's walking from
In and
part
out.
of the facility to another and then in the rain. I'm like, "Is that cold?" And I'm like, "You're wet." You know?
There we go. Now we're getting it.
You can come up to the podium. Who's presenting first? I sent you a panelist link. Yeah. And did you connect to the Wi-Fi with this Sonoma?
Thanks for your patience.
Thank you very much.
Oh my goodness, very nice. So whoever gets.
You're saying, it's not showing. Only one thing up there, she's looking at the agenda. Thank you, everybody. Sorry about that.
Yeah, and then all you need,
Brian's coming.
Here.
So, we just want to,
Technology, 3 steps forward, 2 steps back.
Especially for us boomers.
And if it doesn't work, no, there's also an HDMI cable you can plug in there.
that would work for, so that would work for just people in.
Oh, there he is.
And then we just wanna, take you off of audio. And then we'll share screen, and then we'll share it just like you're.
Great, thank you.
Very well.
All right. It's great to see you.
Oh, we also don't need you,
Okay, we're good? Thank you, everybody. My name is Noel Noyola. I work with MIG. We are working with Access Architects on the plaza visioning phase.
Yay.
Yes, very excited about this. This morning we're at the Guerneville School and met with fifth graders. In fact, we're doing quite a bit of outreach with different folks, met with the fifth graders, met with some promotoras in Spanish today, just a little bit ago, and I just have a brief presentation about what's going on, what we're asking, the types of questions that that people are having about this conversation. Okay, so you all know the area, okay? This is the former intersection, and that's why it's a bit complicated. The intersection is not, in essence, those of you that were here a long time ago can remember that this was actually a roadway, right? It was an intersection where cars went through, and it was not really something that was designed as a plaza, but yet here we are. This is the space that we're talking about generally. We want to connect it, activate it, just make it more viable for businesses, for visitors, for tourists, etc. So you all know this area, right? There's been a lot of construction here. And so this is generally the space that we're talking about is the area around Main Street, coming into the plaza, right at the bridge. It's a key intersection, it's key location. Now, what you see here is the right of way. Okay, so it's partly that you can see it's not just, it's a little bit bigger than what we think of the plaza. The plaza typically is just here, but yet the right of way includes the parking lot that leads to the river. It includes, of course, First Street, and then this intersection, and then this parking lot / driveway into, into the driveway, which tends to be a little confusing for people that are pedestrians or walking. So we've been trying to understand what the parameters are of this. So we've been working with Sonoma County Transit, who apparently runs the place. We've been working with the Smart Pizza, who has a patio. We've been working with some of the business owners, doing interviews with them, and just trying to understand what their concerns are, what their ideas are for the future.
I'm sorry, I
Yeah.
don't really, but we do own a business, it's the square building right next to the plaza.
Yeah.
There, yeah.
Yeah, so we did, yep, so we interviewed at Equality Wines, and had talked to the folks here. I don't remember all the names, but talked to, obviously, the pizza place,
Right.
but it's still live.
It looks like we changed the doors.
Yeah, it looks like you changed it.
But I think it's in my
There we
Sorry
go.
about that.
Yeah, so we have the art gallery there, which takes up most of that building.
Yeah.
And nobody has talked to us about
Okay,
so it'd be helpful if
yeah,
the guy that's there is like they're from 7 in the morning till 7 at night, so he sees everything out there too.
yes,
outreach through the chamber as well.
right, through the chamber, so we haven't talked to everybody, for sure, but we have tried to talk to a wide array of folks, to just get a sense of what's going on, but we certainly can continue the conversation and talk to others that are, in the art gallery, or even coffee shop, the bars up there. We've done some outreach and some we haven't gotten responses and others we have. That said, we're hearing quite a bit. Okay, so here are some of just the process elements that we're going through, of course, and maybe Che, if you want to jump in, or Brian, others. This is a priority. We understand from the local advisory committee, funding study here from D5 for community engagement. We're doing, and this is right now just the visioning, okay? It's not the design yet. It's just a visioning phase where we're talking about what are the key issues, what are the key components, what are the key concerns. I want to engage with stakeholders and merchants in a design workshop eventually. Our goal for right now is to just determine what the vision is, what the concerns are for the plaza. Okay, evaluation process through community input with and public and community evaluation, solutions that are iterative, meaning that it's not just we're going to come up with one thing and here it is. The idea, the way that we try to work is we have, in essence, a visioning phase, put things together. What are the concepts? And then put 3 concepts together and then put those back out to the community. And then usually what happens is that the community says, I like this one, I don't like that one, or I like this component and not that of that one, so can you use them? And usually in this process, what happens is that we have a 4th concept that sort of looks like one and has elements of the other. So that's where we're headed. And obviously, ultimately it's about identifying funding for implementation and for development of this plaza. All right, so existing conditions, and this is what we have seen so far. Utilities in the middle of the plaza, really in the way. Just, this leftover from the intersection and just really messy, right? There's just stuff everywhere, all these buildings, all these like little things, poles and utility boxes that we're not sure what they are, but they're kind of, in the way. A lot of real sightlines are blocked. So for example, this is obviously a key historical space of the community, the bridge. You guys fought long and hard to keep the bridge, but nobody knows that it's there, right? Because of this overhang, it's blocking, it's far away, it's such a prominent feature, yet it's not at all prominent to your community, to visitors that don't know that it's here. So it's kind of back in the distance in the background. The kiosk there, it's nice. Some information, which people have asked for as a key component of this process. But it's also just very small, kind of randomly placed. There are some accessible features here in terms of parking, ADA accessibility, just getting into that I think it's the only ADA compliant space is this one here. And we have a patio that is leased by Smart Pizza. And this is going to be part of the discussion that we need to have with that business owner. Because as part of any redevelopment or redesign of this plaza, we can't just carve out that space. It has to all be done at once. And so that's going to be a real technical challenge for us, for the community. I mean, us as the designers, but also for us as a group, as a community, is how do we ensure that this business stays viable and vibrant during the construction process, especially if we have to, really redo everything that's on the ground here. So that's going to be a very tough challenge. Okay, there is a lease here that was set up some time ago. And that is at this point going to stay. We don't have any plans to remove that, but that is a viable business. And that is one of the key things that people are saying about this plaza that is actually active, that's working, is that this patio actually brings people there, right? And so we want to encourage that type of activation for this space, and even more of this type of activity is dining, drinking, hanging out in a positive way. Now, one of the key things, I'll take this opportunity to just note what I think everybody knows is that it's a difficult social environment for people to visit. People come to this space and they feel uncomfortable. They've reported that, there's drug use, there's defecation, there are things that are tough to talk about in a design setting, but that we all know exist. And we're gonna talk about them head on, right? Because I think we're all clear that this happens in this community. Now, we want to be compassionate about what's going on and we want to be thoughtful about that. But these are big issues that are beyond design, right? These are social, economic, housing issues that design is not going to overcome for your community, right? So we can only try to mitigate those issues, try to understand what's going on. So for example, one of the key things that happens here is, and you all know, we're looking at this big kind of screen, site furnishings that encourage hiding.
Yeah.
Right? That from you're on the street, and this in the next slide, you'll see you're on the street. Well, all of these, but basically, you're on the street here, you're on Main Street looking into the plaza and it's completely hidden. The sight lines are hidden, they hide people behind there. There is a lot of bushes, a lot of things that just really don't show a non-local what is happening. This is actually a plaza, right? So then we want to try to mitigate that. We want to fix that to some extent, meaning probably remove this and then start over with some other type of shade, maybe places where people can't hide behind here that are more visible to the street, to security and folks that can see eyes on the street. We want activation through eyes, right? We want to activate the street and make people feel that it's safe, that people have a visual sense from the street, from the buildings adjacent to the plaza.
And that's the same, the bridge, and I think you made that.
What's that?
The same point applies to the bridge,
Yes,
because people hide and do all sorts of weird stuff.
that's right. People do hide. And again, we heard it this morning at, fifth graders. One of the key things that we asked them, we're like, okay, so tell us, what are some great memories that you have of this plaza, of this place? Well, we go and have ice cream, we do the hula hoops, we do the parades, we do music. Okay, now tell us some not so good things. What are the least favorite things? Like, well, shady characters is what they said. Shady, right? Shady. I'm not making this up. That's what kids said, that they don't feel safe coming there. That sometimes they have to ride the bus or they come with their parents and they don't feel comfortable. Okay. And again, I don't think this is something that I am saying anything new to you. This is not, should not be a surprise to any of you or anybody in this room. I'm trying to be honest and be thoughtful about what this is, and I'm just reporting what people have said. Okay, so that's gonna be a big challenge, is how do we kind of overcome this situation? Now, the other challenge here is that, of course, this is a very busy hub for transit, which of course we want. We've talked to Sonoma County Transit. They operate this, and in fact, I think they operate the entire plaza, right? They do the maintenance on it. Bus racks and all this. The promotoras just recently were telling us that annually high school students use this for their bus stop, right? So think of that interaction as well. Students interacting with sort of those characters that people don't feel comfortable. So they brought that up as something that is a bit of a conflict. The other thing too is that we know that this area is used for events, right? For parades, for rocking on the river, or all these kinds of stage things and markets and things like that. So the idea here is this the right place for this bus stop? That is going to be a key question. We've talked to transit and they want to keep it here, obviously, because of issues with the bus. They think that the bus needs a certain amount of space on the street, and that they really, this is the only place that they feel that they can actually pull out to load passengers. We have different ideas. I at least do. The promotoras did. And so we want to just think about that as one of the key challenges of the design process, is this kind of transit infrastructure as well. Okay. So that's that one. Mentioned the site furnishings, these, the landscape screening, we've heard quite a bit about this fountain.
Oh, boy.
Right? About what happens with that fountain and the cleaning and the sort of washing of clothes and. Could we, and we know that this is important, that we've heard that this is a memorial of a kind. And so can we just turn this into something else? Is this possible to retain that without retaining the fountain necessarily? That doesn't seem to be that viable for the community. Again, the seawall planner, while it's effective for seating when there's a lot of people there, in general, we know that that's not the case. We know that people are sitting here and just hanging out and also hiding from behind, this is where people are sitting and, doing things that maybe aren't as positive for the community. It's a bit of a hindrance to an open space, to visual, kind of silence, okay? It also seems to be a bit of a waste of space. Waste of space, or at least not actual use of space. Now, this is a big one too. I mentioned this very large kind of no man's land, no woman's land, no person's land. The bridge comes off of here, and yes, there's an entry for bikes and whatnot, but this is a very, very large lane. To the point where we're not clear where the plaza ends and where the lane ends and where the parking ends. It's kind of an ambiguous space that we want to redefine very clearly, so we know where the plaza ends and where where pedestrians can feel safe and comfortable. All right. Then we get into some of the things that we've been showing the community. Now, we do this as a visioning exercise. This is a precedent setting, precedent images from other locations. Some of them you'll recognize as nearby. For example, Monorail, the Monorail sign, which is kind of iconic and everybody has seen, everybody's known. We talk about identity, right? What are the key elements? What are the values? What do we want to represent? And we don't want to necessarily say that specifically, but we want to talk about symbols, values, colors, images, things that might represent the community, and entryway art. Promotoras, again, I just had that conversation, so it's fresh in mind. The idea here is that the entryway art is something that when people come, you have a lot of visitors in Guerneville. And so when people come, what do they want to do? They want to see the river, and everybody nowadays, of course, wants to take a selfie, take a picture and say, I was there, I was in Guerneville, hashtag Guerneville, whatever it is, right? And so something like that, they're thinking about already. They would love to have something like an archway, murals that represent things, murals that connect the bridge to the intersection, to Main Street and the plaza, making it one whole corridor, right? So that's been talked about. Obviously, thinking about interactive art, climbable spaces is not going to be a playground, but there can be play features that are also art. So is this the time where I can ask you questions or ask for some feedback, or how will that work? Sure. So, yeah, go ahead.
Are you at the end of your
Yeah.
presentation? I would also just ask if you can talk a little bit before we start taking questions about the meeting with the chamber and some of the economic indicators.
Yes.
That this could be helpful as well, because as we all know, Glenville has been hit very hard by Caltrans.
Right.
And so this gives us some hope.
Yes, so obviously this is one of the big things, right? In terms of how a space can become, a public space can really become a viable engine for economic vitality. So we've talked about the river, rocking on the river. Let me just show you a couple of other images here. So one of the key things that you all have there, it is a platform, it's a venue, right? The combination of the bridge, the plaza, and First Street are all one big venue for the community, for parades, for markets, for for music events and large gatherings. You have a lot of people that come from out of town and are here essentially because of the tourism. They want to experience the nature of the beautiful river, all of these things. So it becomes really a space for a gathering, a launching point for visiting the region. You know, and really one of these walking areas that as people walk through, think of your nearby towns, Healdsburg comes to mind, for example. Their plaza is a fascinating example of what a plaza does, a public space does for the surrounding area, right? People are shopping, getting ice cream, getting wine, getting food, and then they go to downtown to that plaza just to hang out and enjoy birds and trees and just other people, right? So that's one of the key examples. But let me go back and show you just again what we're showing folks: identity, interactive art, murals, artwork, symbols, and images that might represent your community. That's question one. Question two, there's seats. People have asked for different ways of seating that might replace the seat walls. Tables, this movable seating may not work. I will said that, you know what, that's gonna disappear pretty fast. Is it? That might be the case. Are the walls the right thing? Is it maybe benches? How does the seating relate in the plaza relate to the seating on the bridge, for example? If any. We talk about heat and weather being an impact on this space, and so we've looked obviously at trees as a common thing. Can that continue while still keeping the sightlines, right, to see all the way underneath the canopy? Shades and sails might work, but they also don't last as long. Can we do structures that can be then covered with canvas for a stage of a type or a venue of a type? That, you know, something like this that have umbrellas, or, you know, really one of the ladies was talking about the trellis at the front of the bridge where the bridge starts, and could that be something? So there's different examples of what can take place here. And then finally, of course, the stage. I think one of the things that we've heard quite a bit is the key question is, does it need to be a permanent stage, or can it be what you've had in the past is a, you know, more of a temporary stage? And so far, it sounds like a permanent stage would be too much. Like what we need is a setting for a temporary stage. But again, it could be sculptural, right? That covers both the bus area as well as potentially the setting of a venue. You can imagine this as a sort of something that becomes part of a stage setting, right? Like the backdrop. This might be a little too much, the amphitheater. So those are questions that we have for you. Of course, keeping in mind all the different activities, right? Dining. We know that there's dining across the river on the bridge itself. The markets, right? We know that there's a farmer's market nearby, but there's other types of events, community spaces, parades and whatnot, that could also work there. You know, imagine bringing food on a temporary basis, like taco trucks or other food trucks. The events I've already talked quite a bit about, performances, not just the formal ones, but the informal ones where, you know, younger people or kids can come by. So anyway, that's my presentation. I'd love to hear some feedback on any of these last four things: seating, art, identity, shade, and stage. Any thoughts? Yes.
Yeah, I think the one thing I didn't really see was like lighting design for nighttime
Yep.
events, and I think that could be kind of combined between identity and some of like the sight lining.
Yeah.
Because there might be an opportunity to do some sort of like artful lighting design. But you also want it to be beautiful during the day. I'm just trying to figure
Yeah.
out what is gonna be. I think that there's gonna be a mix of both daytime
Yeah.
and nighttime events.
Yeah.
Um,
What did you have in mind, like in your
It's tough. I'm definitely like, I'm defaulting to some ideas of bistro lights, but that's probably kind of like
yeah,
step one.
like string lighting?
String lighting, yeah. But but I'm just, it depends on like how you wanna, whether you wanna almost create like a big visual tent, or whether you want it to be like, in a line to the bridge, kind of to highlight the entryway to the bridge, or whether you want it to be around it. I'm just, I think it might be nice for like, we do night markets, and it could be nice to have permanent lighting infrastructure out there. In a way that's also beautiful.
Right, one of the things that I know is important out here has been brought forward, in West County and earlier projects has been the night sky.
Yeah.
Right, so we want to be mindful of
Yeah.
night sky and the beauty of the stars and things of that nature. So there are ways to do it where you bring lights that cast down.
Yeah.
Right, they're not the ones that
Yeah.
cast up, they cast down, or they're pedestrian scale.
Yeah.
So those might be, but I think, the point that comes up to my mind, as you're saying, the bistro and the street line, because I think that's really festive, right?
Yeah.
That could happen on a night where it's events or parades or, the musical events. What needs to happen is there needs to be something somewhere to plug in, right?
Yeah.
We need to have infrastructure, and we have to have power.
One of those boxes that you should.
Right. Yeah, we just plug in those, right? Yeah.
Well, go ahead, Joel, go after you.
About the stage. The whole thing here, and you talked about the social element. Really the way to control visibility is very important, but so is activation.
Yes,
And
absolutely.
so the more hours that area is activated,
Yeah.
the fewer the problems will be.
Yeah.
And so when you think about a permanent stage, that really limits the other activities that could happen there. So I don't think permanent stage is gonna take up too much space.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes,
Or if there is a permanent thing, but I agree with you. Can it be used as a stage when it's an event, but used as something else
Yeah.
when it's not an event, right?
You're gonna find it used as seating.
Yes, and that's what we're afraid of,
Yeah.
seating or, we've gotten a lot of requests for a skate park. Or
Right.
skate
Oh,
parks.
Yeah.
So you can see that being also something that we don't
Yes,
want
that would, no.
It's all state park.
necessarily, but.
That'll be down the street.
Yeah.
Right, well, that's the idea that we're hopeful is that the park will really invite to that kind of need, right, the skate.
Years,
But-
years ago, it was, if you don't have a skate park, your town is a skate park.
Yeah.
Well, that's why those metal runners are on top of that seating wall.
Right,
That's why they were
that.
put there.
I would stop.
To limit the skating.
Right.
oh, yeah, on the
I didn't know
existing
that.
seating wall,
Yeah.
yeah, the metal, that's a typical.
So on the, just to continue on the lighting thing to some degree,
Mhm.
it should be lighting that keeps it lit at night as well. And that goes along with the visibility issue, if it's a well-lit place at night, not blaring, but to put some focus on
Mhm.
what's going on there, and it could be midnight, it could be whenever, so people see.
Yeah, yeah, so that, I think the lighting and visibility aspect is gonna be critical in terms of a design standpoint.
Yeah.
But I agree, I mean, I think activation is absolutely critical, so there has to be more that goes on after dark, right? So Smart Pizza is one of those places that really does that. But also think of the hula hooping, think of,
Yeah.
additional things that might help. That would be, for example, Friends of the Plaza. Think of gardens, think of things that people can do there, arts and crafts, think of markets, other things like that, that really you want it to become a venue of sorts for a multitude of things. Not just the kind of formal things, but like the cool, like come out and, do yoga or do other things that you don't necessarily have to pay for, but that somebody organizes and says like, hey, look how cool this space is that we can do this. So.
Yeah, when we talked to the chamber initially for that survey that we sent you.
Yep.
Nearly every business had an idea of something they could do there.
Yep.
Yeah.
To get more exposure, to get outside,
Yep.
so. The
So,
other thing I wanted to say is
Yep.
about shade. Because one of the things we heard loud and clear from residents was that they like trees.
Yes.
Now they can't block, they have to have a canopy, they may not be those trees, but they like trees.
And I have a contrary point of view on the
Okay.
trees. I love trees. I'm not saying that I don't love trees and I like lots of trees.
Yeah.
We have a lot of trees, yeah. There's no lack of trees around this place. That's what this place is known for to some
Sure.
degree. So I don't know if additional trees in this plaza are necessary for that reason, if there is better use of the space and different kinds of shading that can help with the other things that need to happen in the plaza. You know, I might be in the minority, but I would put that as a priority over trees themselves. Because we have trees and we can look at trees from the plaza, whether if they're in the plaza or not.
I like the shade idea of the trees, and some of these other venues you showed, there was a lot of grass. You know, there's a lot of vegetation, where Guerneville is turning into a concrete jungle. I think that one section, yeah, you could, you know, utilize that space with the fountain in there, but the other section. It's kind of nice that there's a tree dividing the seating. It's kind of nice that when I'm sitting there, I don't have someone right behind me that I'm staring at. I might have a little bit of privacy, but while being in a busy area. And then the other thing, you know, when I'm hanging out there, I do appreciate that stuff. There's no restroom.
Yeah.
And then the parking is always tough.
We're talking about their doorway.
What's that?
And I'm not kidding.
I'm sorry, I've heard you say that. I'm sorry about that. I have seen some of the less than ideal situations there. For the most part, I can only go from my experience and it's a nice place. I enjoy the place as it is. But it does like parking and bathrooms are the like.
Yeah.
And then it looks like you guys are trying to attract more people to this very small compact area. So I would definitely, try to do that. And I love Smart Pizza.
Yeah.
It's a warm feeling, the way that it enters into the park. It feels homey or, I mean, I don't know if homey is the word, but,
Yeah.
it's inviting.
Yeah.
It feels comfortable.
All the
I
kids-
like what they've done there.
All the kids today mentioned Smart Pizza as one of their favorite memories of having gone with their parents, with friends, as a meetup point with old friends. So we certainly want to encourage businesses like that. We want to, you know, build up that kind of atmosphere that you're suggesting. And we want, like, it's going to be a tough challenge to figure out how to do this and rebuild this, redesign this, and making sure that they stay in business and that they thrive.
It's gonna be tricky too with that big unutilized area because it's access to that parking, that lower parking, so. it's-
Right, yeah,
You
so,
guys got your work cut out for you.
right.
So
That's gonna be,
Can I have a quick? It does just cut right through.
I just want to say really quickly,
Yes.
I think the idea of plaza versus park is one that keeps coming to my mind, and that is,
That's a good point.
you know, we have parks too. So I think when we're thinking about the plaza and thinking about activation, is it a place to go sit and contemplate nature? Or is it something different from that?
Mhm.
And that will inform kind of what we want to do in terms of
That's a-
construction.
Mhm.
The other thing I wanted to say is personally, I would love to see like a big, maybe not the trellis idea, but gateway sort of into, especially into the pedestrian bridge. It just sort of.
Yeah.
It, like you said, if you don't know it's there, I've had to like direct, like, here, go, just, and they're like, are you sure?
Yeah.
So I think some kind of, you know, something identifying the pedestrian bridge, if not like the Monterey sign, which is amazing and just got fixed and went back up, I guess. But you know, something about Guerneville, just
Absolutely,
more identification of the community.
right, absolutely, opening that up to really the most prominent thing. I remember when I first got to Sonoma County 30 years ago, I remember I had a big old 65 Impala that I tried to drive across, and I was like, are you sure? You know,
You
so-
were nervous.
So-
Did you meet a camper?
Luckily I didn't, but yes, I remember that, and having seen it now as a pedestrian bridge and the history of it, and you know, again, all that the community went through to save that bridge. I think it really does need more. It needs a more prominent space visually. And sort of as a focal point for the community for really to explore.
And I like the idea of the ground treatment leading you there.
Yeah.
Yes.
Like the Yellow Brick Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, in fact, somebody mentioned that exact idea,
Yeah.
as maybe not, you know,
Yeah.
too on the
Yeah.
nose, but kind of.
Can it be rainbows?
People have certainly
Yeah,
brought that
really.
up. People have brought that up, and rainbow was a theme, and then also people also said we need to be, you know, expansive in our treatment of the identity of the community, so, you know, that's what we're hearing.
I have a question. I'm just thinking about like plazas that I've loved, like, or in, I don't know, in Europe or in Mexico, like walking down a road and just getting like roadside tacos, or the parking lot in Santa Rosa that's now like a big permanent taco truck area. And I think that plaza, one thing that might activate it most is having like, if there were like two permanent or semi-permanent, because that's the advantage of a food truck. Lined up where in that like no man's land, kind of facing inward into the plaza, and like more seating, because I think what would keep it active is people visiting to get food, or especially like filling gaps for things that aren't already here, aren't competing with businesses, but like there was that cheesecake food truck that was
Yeah,
here,
right.
that was set up right there anyway. Like maybe Hotbox wants to move to the plaza instead of being at the mini golf place. So I think that could be, because I think the Smart Pizza courtyard area is what people want, is like more outdoor seating, especially in a place that's like not right on the road. And I think that would keep it feeling energetic, like people are visiting, moving, getting something, there's a place to sit, then they leave. And then for big events, their trucks and can move.
Yeah.
So I think that could be an interesting.
A space, one of the things that we've been talking about is the configuration of the parking, right?
Yeah.
And how it looks currently, so. This might be to your point here, so this is the plaza as it is currently. Now imagine, this is 48 feet.
Yeah.
From, you know, the right of way, well, this is of course. A typical freeway or a roadway lane is about 10 to 12 feet. Okay, this is 48 feet. It's it's like a freeway,
Yeah.
right? So we don't need that much space. I know that they use it, the business here for that, but they use it.
Nesting Co.
So,
Yeah,
Sonoma.
yeah, it's a nesting
Yeah,
company,
nice.
they use it for entry and for parking and whatnot, so we have to take that into account. But one of the considerations too is that the parking here is also maybe, you know, something that can be reconfigured. Thought about here, and then this could be, you know, really moved here, opening this up. Also, this space, it's not 48 feet, but it's also 2 lanes, 3 lanes if you include the parking.
Yeah.
Right? And this is just a 1-lane road. It doesn't need to be that much. Right? So all you need is one exit out from First Street. But then it could also, we could, you know, eat into this a little bit and expand this. So be thinking about that as we move forward. It doesn't have to stay in this exact footprint. It could be a little bit into First Street. Right? And then all these businesses, including Smart Pizza, the Chamber, and these other ones could have more of that frontage that you're talking about. Right? Including, you know, this one here, the one at the corner, the realty store that could have also more of that kind of welcoming space.
It really,
I would be very concerned about removing that left-hand turn lane,
No,
because especially in the summertime.
oh, this one or which one?
No, the one on the top.
First. Oh, no, I'm not talking
So
about.
not making it 1 lane, because it would back up traffic in the summertime on First Street.
Oh, okay.
So you need to have a straightaway, a right hand and a left hand there,
Okay.
just because I go that way all the time and.
Well, I mean, these are just, again, this is,
And those lights, the way that they're configured right now, there's a lot of time spent waiting in line.
to exit here and turn left,
Yes.
turn right. How many cars do you think back up?
Oh, I've been backed up all the way to Rivertime or beyond.
So well back, okay. That's something to consider.
In the summer, yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah, it's right back to us where they get backed up to.
Yeah. The gentleman from Equality Wines was like, anything to get us closer to the plaza. Again, getting at your point is that we know that part of what they do is they open that big window,
Yeah,
right? And that they come out and they want to engage with pedestrians.
Yeah,
And
I
so-
personally,
Yeah.
I hear what you're saying, and I also wanna weigh that against the possibility of having a much more open
Yeah.
public space.
yeah.
It's like you can turn one street earlier and not have to deal with that intersection. And it might be an adjustment, but that,
Yeah.
Yeah, that's one.
as someone who walks in between those areas, it's like, it feels like a desert. And I think maybe keeping two lanes might be an intermediary solution.
Yeah, I mean,
We have a straight right and a left dedicated, if that's what's backing it up. And also maybe a solution is to change the timing on the lights
Yeah.
instead of keeping two lanes open.
I'm kind of more with what Spencer's saying to some degree, and we're there my partner's there every day from like 7 in the morning to 7 at night. And see some of the traffic issues, and it doesn't go that far back.
Mhm.
But so anything that can bring more plaza and more visibility to something that is there will really help the businesses that are on this side of, on that side, wait, where are we?
On the west side.
On that side of, Main Street.
Yep.
Because there's a lot of foot traffic down here, and it doesn't always necessarily migrate itself to the end of the road and across the street especially.
Sure, yeah, sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the notion is what we're hearing is trying to really connect the plaza better. Kind of like what Smart Pizza's done,
Yeah.
right? And connect that better and have more of this scenario where you have Smart Pizza type places, outdoor dining, engaging with the community, engaging with the park. And then having, that was his sentiment from Equality Wines is really, if I could be on the plaza, he says, I would do that. That's what he wanted, is to, imagine having his window, his door open, kind of a countertop. A countertop that was, allowing for people to, have their taste, but still engage with the plaza. And I think to that point, that's one of the design sort of impetus elements that we're really considering is not just the plaza, but how does the plaza connect to Main Street?
Yeah.
How does the plaza connect to the bridge? How does the plaza connect to First Street? All of these are to us very important. It's a holistic way of thinking about the plaza, not just this footprint. We're not just redesigning this footprint.
We should move off
Yes.
of council comments
Yeah.
and anyone,
I wanted to point out that there's part two of this item, and maybe we should have Ryan and Joe come up before we go to public comment. Otherwise,
Oh, okay.
people won't be
Yeah,
able
yeah,
to,
that's-
they won't have heard
Is it
that
short?
piece.
No,
We're on the, they are making it long, by the way.
Should we move to community part?
Yeah, come on and do that.
So if you wanna stop sharing screen so that,
Huh?
Brian can share screen.
Oh.
I know what you guys can do. Just turn Main Street into your non-drivable plaza.
Oh, that'll help.
Yeah, health trends will be, real amenable to that.
Yeah, we want to work. Stay on.
I'll never get to volunteer.
All that highway, that's some.
Yeah,
That just happens.
While he's getting this set up, I'll just introduce myself because it'll mostly be Brian presenting today. I'm Giovanna Quezada. I'm an assistant engineer with Sonoma County Public Infrastructure. And Adrian, who's online, Adrian Garrialda, sorry, Adrian. She's the grant analyst and she's been working on this project as well as the other one for many years now. And I'm just joining her and helping her manage the project now.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm gonna try and keep this as brief as I can.
Yeah, I wasn't trying to, I was just trying to get a sense of time.
That's fine. So, there's more slides here, but I think we can go through them fairly quickly. So, my name is Brian Grant. I'm with a company called Practice Architects, and we are and have been locals here for a very long time. So we're very familiar with the community. And thank you very much for your time tonight. So, wanted to bring you up to speed on where we have been to date with a project that is associated with the other end of town. So it's essentially at the park and ride lot. And there's a parcel that's immediately to the north of the park and ride lot. It's just about 4 acres. And so those two together are just about 4 acres. And so ultimately, our efforts are an extension from a project that got started before we were involved. That had to do with a design jam that took place in May of 2023. And it was a way for the community to kind of have a voice in things that they would like to see as improvements in town. And so that was hosted by West County Health Centers, and there was a number of topics that were discussed. And through that process, the things that came out as highlights as ideas that folks would like to see as improved opportunities in our community included youth services project for 100, transportation and resource for unhoused, and also a community connection and recreation. So it spawned a subset of folks that were on the LARA that were interested in trying to provide opportunities for local folks to get together and gather. And so there was a team that was gathered that includes Noe this evening from MIT and our office, and then also the RARA. And we met with them weekly for several months. And it was determined that we were interested in gathering some more community input. So we submitted and published a online and physical survey. We ended up getting 435 responses, something like that, to what folks would like to see if there were to be a new park in town. And to give you familiarity with where you are already probably know about this. So this is the view of the park and ride lot that's just west of Safeway on the north side of Highway 116. And the property that's immediately behind it, you might not know as much, looks like this. And this is a very low-lying area, subject to flooding frequently, and has historically been used as an overflow tent cabin area for the Surrey Inn back in the days, but it was.
And I talked to Shay and Linda about this before, but there is a couple of cat colonies back here that we want to make sure we preserve. And that we will work as Forgotten Felines to manage that with the county.
Great, and there's gonna be plenty of time for that as we get into this conversation. So, we hosted a couple of community workshops, and we also did some work with the local elementary school. And Noe was similarly involved in that, so to give you a little bit more of an abstract view of the location. So, here at the park and ride. And the property that is immediately behind it is here. And there's a drive that goes down there that some of you may know if you're familiar with the facility, but you can kind of see that there are these kind of patchworks of what looks like could be improvements. So those were former tent sites, and a lot of them were actually paved. So we, in the process of looking into the property as we were investigating what our options might be, determined that there was a concern about the fact that there may be some wetland, and that we might need to figure out about whether or not that was something that needed to be dealt with. And so we engaged with a biological assessment and determined that because the site has been so disturbed over the years, that really issues associated with what's there now are more a product of the fact that a lot of the site is paved, even though you can't really tell it because it's overgrown. So it's very hard pan and not hospitable to a kind of park facility. So in the conversation associated with essentially pushing on the idea about what could this space be potentially used for, and is there a benefit for the community? We generated some very preliminary ideas as a way to generate discussion in a public meeting about what folks would like to see there and what they thought had priority. And so these, I'm gonna go through these very quickly, but you can see there's an array of things, and these are somewhat, they grew out of what were the responses to the surveys. So there were certain program elements that came up over and over again that had to do with things like dog parks, community gardens, a natural playground area, potentially an amphitheater, maybe sport courts, group picnic areas, generally spaces to gather. And so folks were looking at all different types of ideas about that. And as we were developing these discussions, the concerns that some of the concerns that we had about it, as you all know, and as we've been talking about tonight, even in the plaza, that is a very visible place. This is a spot that's down and is not immediately visible to folks that are on the street, and things can happen. So what you'll notice in all of these discussions and in these very preliminary plans, and none of these were intended to be a final scheme. It was really more about a way to, as I mentioned, elicit discussion. But the intent was to foster engagement from a broad range of users. So whether it was elderly, young people, people with children, people with dogs, people that were gardeners, people that were there for events, all that sort of thing. The intent was to try and generate as much day traffic as possible from pedestrians so that it was heavily used, with the intent of having folks keep an eye on it just based on that use. So there were a number of schemes that were developed, as I was mentioning, and they're really an idea about trying to provide people an opportunity to have a discussion about things they did and did not like, and specifically did and did not. So we had a workshop in March of 2024 that looked at a number of different options, and we got the impact back or input back from that, and had another meeting on the 27th, and the meeting on the 27th of April was more of a design workshop. And so in that case, we gave folks an opportunity to basically design a park. So think about what it is that what things that you like, where you like them, why you like them. And so we had general conversations with the community about what that all meant. And the goal of the exercise was to try to elicit a response that would result in something that we could consider as a more preliminary design associated with what might be the park. And so through that process, we ended up with a series of things that are very similar to what I was just describing, a myriad of program elements that try to drive occupancy of the site on a regular basis and frequently. So this is a preliminary schematic design associated with the conversations that came out of those. And so you'll notice the park and ride lot is up in here. And the driveway that's there now comes down like this, and there's a large parking area for the overall park space. I think this image makes a little too much out of the food truck, but the idea is that there's an open multi-use playing field that could be used as a soccer field and or multi flexible space. So there's a community garden, tot lot kind of playground. At the time we were looking at this, we thought we were going to have wetlands to deal with, and we have determined that that's not the case at this point. But there is a small creek that's called Libero Creek that comes along the edge here that is intended to be subject to restoration associated with this project. And so all of those things kind of came together, and through the process of working with the community and also with the D5 office, D5 was specifically interested in applying for last season's match grant through the Ag and Open Space District in terms of potentially gathering additional funding. So the D5 office fronted $500,000 as a match for this application to go to the match grant program last June of 2024. And it was preliminarily approved as a project that was eligible for funding. And in August of that year, we submitted the final application, and they went through the process, and it ranked highly and was ultimately ended up being funded to the extent of $1.5 million in addition to the 500 that was on hand. So now the project is in a position where it has some funding on hand, and the next steps are developing where the park may go. And as I mentioned, the scheme that I was showing you here is schematic. And there you go. Is schematic in nature and is not exactly on a cocktail napkin, but it is very loose. So there will be changes to this, but generally the elements will likely remain. And so we're bringing it forward here just to let you know where we are in the process. So ultimately, as I mentioned, the bulk of the funding is in place for the improvements. And so now public infrastructure is in the position of trying to assemble the design team associated with what will be the next steps forward, and going through the permit process, and ultimately getting to a point where we can send it out to bid. So we have also had an opportunity to have a preliminary meeting with the folks at Permit Sonoma, and have determined that it will definitely require what's called a conditional use approval, which basically means it's gonna have to have a use permit, which involves all the divisions from the county and engages lots of different levers that will drag out time. So that's just something that's part of the endeavor, which is not hard to imagine. So I would throw that out to you just to let you know where we are with it all in the process, and happy to hear what you have to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll back to my original point, because I did before this was even started to design, I said there is living creatures out there. We've been spaying and neutering, and I don't see anything in here that considers that at all. So I don't know, did that just what happened?
I would say we're so far away from that
Right.
once we have a time and a plan to break ground, then we will connect with you to move those animals.
Well, no, they're not gonna move. That's the point. We're not gonna relocate them. That's where they've lived for years.
Well, you and I would need to connect on that and come up with a plan for where they're living and how we can work around that.
Right, and well, what we talked about was how do we incorporate that into this? And even create like a learning thing or whatever. How to control cat population, when to feed, when to not feed. And not just disrupt their lives. But kind of work within that context, and that's what we had talked about. And I don't see any of that in here.
Yeah, I would say by the time that we get to that, we'll see if that is still a problem, and then
Yeah, but it seems like it hasn't been thought of at all. And that's something that I was told was gonna get thought.
Where are they?
Yeah.
They're
In that.
in that,
47,
behind
7 acres.
the concrete. There's a bunch of cats that live in a couple of different places. We know there's different people that feed out there. We've been altering them for years. People tend to dump cats, right? And so we continue to alter them. But they are living things that live there, and that is their home.
so they're in the creek restoration area.
They could be, and there's probably some on the right side too. We have a map that shows where they.
Yeah, I don't see the creek restoration area being problematic for those colonies.
Right. But they're on because people feed on the right side, kind of where that multi-use open field area is as well. And the food can be moved, right? And we can manage that, but we just don't want to move them from that property altogether. It's just like create a safe space for them. And it can work in the context of this. As long as it's thought out.
Okay, well, I would say we focus on the creek restoration area, and you and I can connect on that one.
Okay.
Right, thank you.
So I'm just confused about the park and ride. So is there still gonna be a park and ride?
Yes,
So it's to the
to the
west
to
of,
the north of.
to the north?
like-
It's on the backside.
Back.
Oh,
So it's a bigger
okay.
property behind there, so park and ride in every condition remains in the parking area. So
Gotcha.
that's the upshot of the conversation about that, but. Go ahead.
So I don't know where this whole food truck thing came from, but if we're putting food trucks at the plaza.
we
got
need
food
to
trucks
coordinate
there,
that.
and
I was just gonna say, like, I don't know if you need.
what about our local restaurants?
Right.
How do they feel about this? Just a thought.
Yeah. And as I mentioned, as I was presenting, the food truck is overblown in that kind of conversation. I think the intent was that that's an open, flexible playing field that could be used for multiple events. And were something that was a gathering event like that, that's something that would be an occasion, I think, the intent.
Well, no offense to the cats, but I'm glad there'll be a dog park.
And it could be.
It's fenced in, the dogs can't get out.
Yeah, it's just that the removal's not an issue. We have a contract with the county of Sonoma on that. They would, Sonoma County Animal Service might take them, they give them to us and then we'll return them. That's the legal agreement that we have.
What's your estimate on how many cats are there?
There's probably, I don't know, 10. About,
It's nothing.
that's not a lot.
We get 19 in my neighborhood.
Oh, God,
That's-
yeah, you're
That's
crazy.
gonna take them all.
And that's because we've been managing it and getting the population down naturally over time.
Should we open it up to?
Yeah.
Pets?
Unfortunately, it looks like we did have Herman J on for public comment and he had his hand raised and he just stepped away.
Oh, bummer.
Anyone else have a comment?
And if you wanna, have a seat so that public comment from the audience can use the
Absolutely.
podium.
Absolutely. Do I stop my chair?
Sure.
Thank
Yeah.
you, thank
Of
you.
course, thank you for your time.
Thank you.
We
Thank
do
you.
have one online.
Oh, okay.
I like your proposals. These are good.
Thank you all very much for your time.
Jackie and John, I want to allow you to talk. You have to unmute.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, I didn't realize my husband's name was on there too. Sorry. This is Jackie Brazil. I'm in Forestville. Hey, Brian and Stephanie, and this is beautiful. This looks really great, and congratulations on this project and all the funding. That's so cool. I have one question about it, and who will do the maintenance on the plaza?
That would be SCTA, would be the, folks that are
Who's-
responsible.
Who is that?
Oh, yeah, sorry.
Well, the
I didn't
Plaza
hear.
Jackie or the park?
The park
The park.
that Brian just spoke on.
So at the end of public comment, we can bring Brian back to answer that.
Oh, okay. Okay, great. Thank you.
Anyone in the room have a? Come up to the podium.
Hey, thank you both for presenting. I'm just gonna go in order, so, Noe first. Yeah, I was, unclear who will own and operate the plaza, going forward. Sounds like it's gonna be a CTA, but I just wanted to be clear on that. As we're thinking about walkability, and just kind of the role of a redesigned plaza in Guerneville as a whole, I just want to keep in mind what it connects to. And being in front of the bridge, it's gonna connect to the other side of the bridge, which is a regional park, and it's not in great shape, as I'm sure you know, but I think there would be an opportunity there to work with regional parks, and make, the plaza, kind of be intentional about the plaza connecting to the regional park as well. Conversely, we also, I don't think, would want the plaza to become kind of just an entryway to the regional park, so being intentional about that. And then, whatever amount of parking you are going to keep in the plaza, I think you should think about, EV charging infrastructure as a fairly low cost, high benefit, element to add if you're already redesigning a space. But I like all of your ideas. Let's see, and then for the new park, directly upstream, and next to this park is a huge winery or vineyard. I'm pretty sure it's Corbel. And I would just have a lot of concerns about putting a lot of kids, in close proximity to a massive agricultural site like that. And that's it. Thank you.
Perfect time.
Anyone else? Yes.
Yeah, thank you for those presentations. I really like the idea of redoing the plaza. And, one question I had when everybody was talking about lighting, which I think is also essential. I don't know if there's any neighbors that might be affected that are a little further afield than the actual plaza. So that's a question. And then for sort of branding, is, like, you showed the Monterey sign, Vacation Land, does Burnsville have something like that? Cause I know, it's Stumptown, but I don't know if we're not in Stumptown. And, so is there kind of a catchy Guerneville saying, or maybe the committee or somebody can kind of come up with something? I don't know, forest, rivers and bridges or something. Anyway, and then, if there was a. There was a logo that could develop, that might be kind of branding stuff. And then for the park, and I did agree with you, Betsy, about, all the food trucks versus, the restaurants. But, I'm liking the idea of having a park there too, and the multi-use stuff is really good, so, thank you.
Thank you.
Alex determined that.
Thanks, guys. It was very, very interesting. I had no idea a lot of this stuff was going on. Hopefully I'll be able to remember what I wanted to say before. What I was thinking of when you're talking about line of sight with the plaza and being able to see in, I'm thinking about the opposite side. When you're in the plaza.
Oh, talking about line of sight.
But I was thinking about the line of sight, if you're in the plaza, you don't wanna look out at all the traffic running by either. You know what I mean? So I wanted to bring that up because like I like what Tony said about looking for some privacy while you're sitting there too. And I kind of like the trees thing because that's why people come here, for trees. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Great. Anyone else? Anyone online?
Nope.
All right, thank you very much. Oh, wait, I had one question. How long is this gonna take?
Well, he said the permit resource management department was involved, so.
Second.
20,
Yeah.
30 years, maybe.
Yeah.
It is
I'll be-
probably.
I'll be gone.
Yeah.
Oh, Chair, if I may,
Yeah.
to address Jack's question about the plaza, to clarify, SCCA will manage the plaza as they do now. I would still be the owner of the plaza.
And then, community park.
And the community park, we're still figuring that one out.
Yes. And then, do we have any idea on timing? Or what, no, the plaza and or the park?
The plaza, I think, is less known because we have, we're in a different stage. With respect to the park, very optimistically, and try to remain optimistic when it comes to PRMD, but it's likely, as I mentioned, public infrastructure is assembling a team now that will do all the design work associated with it, so that's gonna take 6 months, maybe more, to get that all kind of in place and ready to go. The use permit process, I can speak from experience, it's at least a year from when you initially submit it. And I have no problem imagining that it would take several months after it was approved before the bids were acknowledged and someone was hired, and then probably it's 8 to 10 months worth of build. So it's 3 years in any event. If we do it in that amount of time, I'd say that was good. So to give you an idea, go ahead.
I'd add that the ag and open space, even though we've received those funds, we haven't actually had any agreements in place, and that can sometimes be like a
Yes.
3 to 6 month process, so that needs to be initiated too before we actually hire a consultant.
Are you in danger of losing any of the funds because of the length of?
No, there's like a 5-year
Lead-up.
window to
Yeah.
use those funds, so we should be fine.
Yeah, and I think Giovanna also brings up a really good point, which is that, so the way that the master grant program works with the Ag and Open Space District is they are interested in preserving open space. That's their agenda, having open space that can be shared by all as one portion of their arm. So they you know, the idea is that the, oh, I just want to throw into that. So they're gonna establish conservation easement on the property. So in the question about whether it engages the public, or the, park and ride lot, that was specifically left out because it's already developed. And so ag and open space has restrictions on how much of the property can be covered by impervious surfaces, for instance. So a lot of what you'll see in those drawings that we were showing are impervious space, even though they look like they're development, it's parking lot would be pervious, the walking trails also are pervious, but still accessible, for ADA requirements. So all of that is something that factors into it, and in the process, the ag and open space will essentially, issue a conservation easement that doesn't allow any future development on that property, so it will always in perpetuity remain open. And in addition to that, because this is a particular recreation offering, they will also include a recreational covenant, which basically describes the recreation components that need to be maintained again in perpetuity. So that's part of the access associated with the match grant program. So there's a lot out there. So there's a lot to negotiate, as Javon was saying.
Great. All right, thank you, guys.
Yes, thank you.
All right, Shay, airport noise.
All right. Good evening, everybody. Airport noise, very exciting stuff. You will see in your packet that you have a letter that was somewhat adapted from a letter that the Board of Supervisors sent out to address airport noise in our area, particularly West County. It's a little bit better than the letter that went out from the Board of Supervisors, not just because Debbie and I worked on it, but because it has some updated information in there, which you will see a 4,000% increase in complaints in 2 years. And we did not have that information previously. And so I'm going to talk about a little bit about how we got here, what the issues are, and why we're asking you to send this letter out in support of the grander effort. Basically, about 2 years ago, we already had STS, the airport, looking at a approach study because people were complaining about airport noise in our community and it was an issue. They started an approach study, and just about the same time they started an approach study on how to mitigate airport noise, the FAA just went full sideways on us, and without even telling us, without talking to us, working with our community, or telling anybody, we found out from our pilots, they started to change the routes that our airplanes used when leaving, so the departing flights from STS. And essentially what happened is those planes not only started turning to 500 feet instead of 2,000 or 2,000, which means when they're coming in over the mountainous areas in West County, they could still be at 500 feet if they're overloaded and they're just throttling back full speed, so they're very loud. But it also meant that they narrowed the flight path. So this was a redhead is what they call the flight path, which means we have pretty much a highway going over about Forestville, Occidental, Cazadero area. And these communities, especially on the top of the hill, are getting slammed. So coming back to the original approach study, the big ask that we have from approach from the FAA is that they use the consultant's recommendations, which is essentially those planes that are coming in start much higher. They drop down at a 3% grade, because traditionally what's happening is that these planes drop down to say, 2,000, and it looks like a stairway, 1,500, 1,000, and they're gunning it each time they drop down to maintain speed. This is a 3% grade approach. They stay in the Highway 101 corridor, so that already has high decibel levels, mitigates the arrivals. What we're hoping for, while we look at the departure issues with the same consultant that we used for that study, is that we can go back to the original, what we call the Charlie 8 flight paths for the departures, which means they focus on the 101 corridor. Once again, already the decibels are there. They spread the pain around a little bit more in that, we're all going to hear some airplane noise, but it's not just focused on one very narrow area. And that these planes are not turning at 500 feet. They're turning at a much higher altitude. So they're not gunning their engines over our small and hilltop enclaves that are used to having very quiet areas.
So that's kind of the quick and dirty of what's going on with airplane noise. The letter is very much adapted from what the Board of Supervisors sent out. But we are trying to be as much as we can in front of the FAA, very loud about what our issues are for our constituents. And advocating as much as we can, because that's the only way we're gonna get them to accept what we are trying to push forward.
Jay, did the FAA ever say why they changed from Charlie to
Yeah,
Redhead? Thank you very much.
they essentially tried to pass the buck down to SFO in Oakland and said it was their fault. They had so much movement of planes that now we had to change our way that we moved our planes, which of course, planes operate in a 3D space, so
Yeah.
that's problematic. There was also some safety concerns with new radio technology or communication technology. Talking to the FAA, frankly, and talking to some of the pilots that work with STS, that's not really a concern. We can go back to the Charlie 8, no problem. And in fact, we did receive a letter in response to the original letter from the board that was very much like, well, we kind of see your point. We're seeing like, you know, the flight patterns that are really slamming these communities, but it's going to take a long time. And so we're just keeping up the pressure and hoping that you all can help us out the same.
I don't mean to ask a stupid question, but does this have to do with the amount of traffic that's coming in and out of Santa Rosa, which has expanded over time?
So the traffic is set by the general plan. So you'll read a lot in the PD about like, you know, there's a new Southwest flight or whatever.
Right.
Those can only come about when others are closed.
Oh.
So for those flight patterns, it all stays the same unless the general plan changes them, but they're fairly fluid in that like Avalon goes away, oh, too bad. And then Southwest or Alaska or somebody else is gonna step in to cover those numbers.
Okay. Just curious, actually.
Good question.
Any other questions?
Yeah, I thought I heard. Maybe it's, that, yeah, they're gonna start having bigger planes come in there.
We are looking at another runway, but that's a while out, and that would have in order to increase the flow, there would need to be a change to general plan, which is a ways out.
Sounds like this noise thing is gonna get.
Sorry?
Sounds like this noise thing is gonna get worse.
It's pretty bad. I pretty much talk to somebody, I'd say like 5 or 10 contacts a week right now on people upset about this issue. It is a huge issue in our community. And I, strongly suggest that all of us, not only send letters, but reach out to the FAA, reach out to our state senator, our state assembly member, most importantly, our congressman. Helpman has been hugely supportive of this effort, and he's been hearing from a lot of our folks, because I've been pushing them in that direction.
Well, we can definitely tell the change in my area in the last couple of years. And also helicopter noise, I don't know if that's covered by any of this, but good God, there's just so much more helicopter traffic. And it's not them, the Coast Guard looking for people in the river or the sheriffs, it's private helicopters.
And
Going to Bohemian Grove, it's my.
There's a new helicopter school, which has been causing a lot of issues.
Goes about that as well.
I read it quickly, but it seemed like this is asking for a temporary rollback to what it was before. How temporary is it, and is it sort of inevitable that we're gonna shift back to where it is now?
No, the ask is to ship back to the way it was before, which kind of spread the pay around it, and it wasn't as invasive because the planes were turning at a higher altitude. While our consultant comes up with a better solution.
Okay.
And our consultant is definitely not gonna go back to the redhead because
Okay.
it's been a nightmare for all of our communities.
Got it.
Go ahead, Wolf.
What responsibility?
Can you come? Oh, sorry.
What compels the FAA to respond to public input like this? I mean, what, can they just plug their ears and ignore everybody's complaints, or what? How does their response
Do we have any?
actually work? Yeah, what is the actual leverage that the public or the supervisors have on this issue?
I mean, it's a little bit of a bifurcated answer there, and that, you know, we really didn't have a lot of traction until Huffman stepped in and really put the pedal to the metal on this one. But B, as in any kind of government, the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and if you just hammer the FAA, we have a West County Jet Noise Coalition group that is very well organized and is really just going after them and just saying, hey, look, this is a problem, hey, this is a problem, reporting. You know, eventually you're gonna get trash, and just so, I just need my inbox to go away. So that would be my answer to that, is both of those entities are being very helpful.
I'd like to move that we adopt this letter.
We do have one more public comment online. Should I take that?
Yeah.
Mariana, you can unmute yourself.
Let's see, am I still muted?
I can hear you.
Good. I just want to register my voice. I am a 25-year resident of West County, and we moved here for the quiet, peace, and enjoyment. And 18 years of those have been in the home we own now, and we came here to raise a family. And we've seen that really eroded over the last couple of years. I want to thank you, first of all, Che and Linda's office, for sending that initial letter. And now I really hope that the Municipal Advisory Council does the same and voice all of our concerns. On one of those 4,000% increase. People, one thing I noticed on Nextdoor, which I'm not on a lot, but I just did a little query about chats around this, and a lot of people don't seem to, it seemed to be a question as to whether or not they should voice the complaint every single time a plane comes over. I think I mean, I don't count, but it's probably a dozen flights a day. There have been increasing, and time of day as well. You know, now they're 10 o'clock at night, sometimes later, starting at 6 a.m. So, Che, can you tell, I mean, as far as the statistics are concerned, and the 4,000% increase, do folks need to register each and every complaint? I do, each and every plane that comes over, I'm on that site registering. But some people thought, well, do I just do it once? And it seemed to be a question. So how do we get that out there, that this to be the squeaky wheel? How best to be the squeaky wheel?
Well, you know, I think that when we're talking about STS, leadership there is very much aware of this issue and very much wants to change these flight patterns. So making complaints to them in that sense, you know, they're already on board, but in the sense that we have a very clear indicator, a 4,000% increase in complaints that we can then take to our federal folks and say, this is a problem, that is hugely useful. So yes, if people have the steam for it, I'm still telling them to please keep doing those little complaints on the app. I would also say, you know, writing your congressman and writing the FAA as often as you have the steam for, especially the FAA, is also extremely helpful. And, you know, anything that we can do from our role as government to advocate is great. And then our community involvement really gets things done, because we have a wonderfully well-organized community that really cares about their quiet time. And this has been a huge problem.
Where do people complain?
So you can write to the FAA directly. The Jet Noise Coalition has actually got some direct contact information.
Okay.
And then if you go to at the STS website, I believe it's the Good Neighbor part of the website, you can see all of the tools that are available, all of the reports that have gone on, and that's a pretty helpful way to kind of get your feet under you when it comes to this issue.
Thank you.
I'd like to second Joe's motion.
Well, we have
one more public comment online.
And then I'll call for when we need our.
And I'll include that information in the minutes.
Yeah.
Tim, you can unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you very much for the time and your good work. I just want to add one little thing there too, is just the money factor. Whereas, you know, like someone's profiting from these extra flights. and it's at our expense, right? Like it's lowering our property values. I probably wouldn't have bought this house if there's jets flying over, when I came in. So there's like someone's profiting at our expense. That's the money thing. I just wanted to add that in there. Um, thanks. That's all I got to say right now.
Thank you for your public comment,
Is that it?
and that is all.
Thanks. Now, can I get a motion?
Yeah, Joe.
So
For
moved.
me to sign?
Sorry for
You
jumping
want
the gun.
That's all right.
I was seconded.
One second. Need to let everyone talk. Can we have a raise of hands?
Okay.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And with that, we are. Okay.